If you all had anything that you wanted to get out of this session, feel free. Let me make sure that the chat and Q&A is enabled. Looks like, okay, let's have, okay, so y'all can chat, y'all can use the Q&A. If you have any sort of like goals or anything that you wanted to get out of today's session, do let us know. We'll do our best to cover everything. There's a lot to go over with market dashboards. So we'll dive in about a minute. Quick introduction. My name is Becca. I'm a solutions consultant with the team. I've been with PriceLabs about 1.5 years now. Before joining PriceLabs, I was a property manager here in Charleston, South Carolina. So using all of these tools in my day-to-day, now I get to teach lovely people like you how to use them for your needs and use cases. I also have Neha here with me. She is based out of India. She'll be helping answer Q&A and generally helping me run this. But cool, I guess we're a couple minutes past now. Mic check. Can everybody hear me? Hopefully everybody can hear me. Okay. Let's see. Yep, everybody can hear me. Good, good, good. Lovely. Oh, maybe you couldn't hear me before. Okay, beautiful. Well, now that we've got the technical issues sorted away, hopefully everybody can see my screen. Just want to dive in very quickly, talk about what we're going to talk about today. So start off talking about what market dashboards actually are, going over some of the basics, data sources used, and just an overview of actually the use cases. So, depending on who you are, your goals for market dashboards are probably going to be a little bit different. We're going to try to cover all of those today. We'll then actually go into a couple of the reports and we will really dive deep into there. We do have some really great resources on our YouTube channel. So if you don't have market dashboards created yet, I believe we'll send a link for that in the chat shortly. It takes I think 2 minutes, 5 minutes, but we're not going to really go over that today because we do have some really quick videos on YouTube about that. But we will get into creating a comp set and really go deep into all the different elements in the dashboard. The different use cases, how to actually read the different charts, and answering any questions that y'all have. So yeah, feel free to shout things out, use the chat Q&A. We'll stop periodically and make sure that all those questions get answered. So what is a market dashboard? These are personalized reports that show market data for various vacation rentals around the world. So you can look at reports anywhere from Charleston, South Carolina to India to really anywhere in the world. If there are Airbnb or Vrbo rentals, then we are able to pull up the data. Oops, looks like I lost a bullet point there, but we are pulling data. So we're scraping data, meaning it's publicly available. But we're gathering it maybe a little bit more efficiently than you or I could if we were just going on those websites and actually searching one by one for all of those listings, right? So we're scraping that data and then giving you the ability to choose a pinpoint on the map and a radius. From that radius, whether it's 2 kilometers or 20 kilometers, we'll pull in all the data for the Airbnb and Vrbo listings in that area. You have 2 options depending on how densely sort of populated vacation rental-wise the area is. So if you're in, say, Florida, for example, where there's a lot of vacation rentals, you might want to use the 5,000 listing option. This is a little bit more expensive. It's $19.99 a month, but really this is just per report. So if you don't find yourself using the report every single month, you don't need to subscribe to it month by month by month. You can always turn it off, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. You can use custom comp sets, so you're not just looking at all of the listings around you, and we'll get into actually how to use set up those comp sets in a minute. But these comp sets can really make the information usable to you. All of your listings are probably very unique for your area, so we want to personalize the dashboards again to your needs. Any questions so far? Anything that we want to go over, Neha, before we move forward? I can look at the chat too.
Bill has shared the goals that he wants to look at. So It's more like cleaning fee and amenities, discounts, etc. So
Okay,
how
cool.
to
Yeah, so how to
apply
actually
that
like
data directly? Yeah.
apply, yeah, how to actually apply the data for your setting. So yeah, that's definitely a really good question. I will do my best to sort of answer that as we're going through each one of those modules. And demand factor aggressiveness. So that is actually more related to our dynamic pricing tool. If we have time, we can maybe get to that, or Neha, if you want to send him more information, that would be great. Cool. So the three main use cases that I usually see for these market dashboards are sort of three types of people, I would say. So you first have your investors, those that are actually looking at a market, but don't actually have a property that they've purchased yet, or maybe they're thinking about purchasing a property. Market dashboards are a really great tool for investors because you can gauge your market health. You can compare similar properties, again, using those comp sets. If you have like a 3-bedroom versus a 2-bedroom, you're trying to decide which one to buy, you can create 2 different reports and compare them. And this can also help inform your income projections, just generally give you an idea of what your performance might look like year over year, right? If you have, an income projection of 60K annually, but you're in a very seasonal market, maybe your January is going to look a lot different than your July. So this is a lot of really good information that can help you sort of plan for your business. Second, we have new managers and owners. Maybe somebody who just purchased a property is just getting their feet wet in dynamic pricing, in vacation rentals in general. This again can really help you gauge the market. When is your low season? When is your high season? What are your booking windows? What can you really just expect for your listings? This can really help inform your strategies, maybe not as finely tuned as maybe experienced managers and owners can do, but you can actually start using data instead of just saying, let me just choose a random cleaning fee, right? You can also use reports to grow. So both experienced managers, owners, investors can use these reports and say, hey, this is the data that I have on the market. Will you invest in me, or will you maybe let me manage your property? I've definitely seen people use the reports this way. And then finally, we have those experienced managers and owners, those who have actually been operating in their market for some time, but the markets are always changing. 2020, 2021, 2022 has definitely taught us that, and we really don't know what's going to happen in 2023. So being in tune with what's going on in your market right now can really help you fine tune your revenue management strategies, make sure that you're staying booked, make sure that you are getting that RevPAR that you're expecting. And also it helps you benchmark performance. So if you're using our other tools, dynamic pricing, portfolio analytics, you can actually take the comp sets that you create in market dashboards and use those across the other tools. So I'll show you how to do that as well. But enough of me just talking with the slides, because these aren't super helpful. Let's dive into one of the market dashboards that I have set up. Cool. So I'll show you this page first. So this is your market dashboards page. When you first connect your account, if you have listings, you will get a free credit. So your first market dashboard should be free. You'll click this create button. We have a whole video. I think I have sent a link for that on actually how to create it. So I don't want to get too much into it because we're kind of short on time. But here's what I was talking about before. If you do not want to be charged for your dashboard on an ongoing basis, make sure that you turn this daily refresh button off. That means that you just want to use it month to month. I can turn it on 6 months from now, see how Marita is doing, and then turn it back off once I have the information that I need. So that's something that's really neat. You don't, you're not locked into like a whole year or anything. You can use it as you need it. Once you turn it on, you pay for a month and you'll have access to it for that billing period. Now, the market dashboard I want to show you is here in Charleston. This is my sort of home base. A couple of things to pay attention to here. Now, I mentioned that we're scraping data from Airbnb and Vrbo. Now, we do not currently combine that data. So right now in the upper left-hand corner, you see under view comp sets, ABB whole market. That means that I'm just looking at Airbnb data and I'm looking at the entire market instead of a comp set. I can click this and I can actually switch to Vrbo data. There's going to be a little bit of differences. If I were to switch from Airbnb to Vrbo, you'd probably see the estimated revenue. Some of these numbers change around. That's likely because there are different listings on Airbnb versus Vrbo, right? There's a lot of overlap, but there are some differences here and there. And people might even be listing their properties for different prices, taking listings offline, putting them online. So there are some differences, and that's mainly why we keep them separated currently. If you scroll down here, you're going to see a couple of comp sets that we've actually sort of created for you. So like professionally managed 2 bedrooms with 20 or more reviews, just to sort of get the gears turning on how you might want to create comp sets of your own. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. Now, if you don't want to, create a comp set yet, because it is, takes a little bit of time, I will say for most of the data, you will probably want to use this bedroom filter, right? So for a lot of the things that we're going to be looking at, like revenue, cleaning fees, all of this, when you're looking at the entire market, everything in this case from single rooms to 16 bedrooms, while you can generally gauge sort of like the seasonality, the occupancy of the market, the performance of like a 16 bedroom is going to be very, very different than a 1 or 2 bedroom. So be sure that you are at least using this bedroom filter before kind of using the rest of the data in this chart. Even better is actually creating your own comp set. So again, if you have an idea of a listing that you want to purchase, or if you are saying, my listing is unique, it is oceanfront, pet friendly, has a pool, it's not going to perform like the other listings in the area, this is really where comp sets come in. So the first thing you can do is use this little map here. Now, this is very similar to what you'll see in our neighborhood data tool in dynamic pricing. You can hover over any of these dots, each of them representing, in this case, an Airbnb listing that we're picking up. You can see a little bit of the listing info, bedroom count, review count, average price, occupancy, etc. And then the color of the dot is actually indicating the average price over the next year. So red dots are higher price listings, green dots are lower price listings. I can actually click any of these dots and actually view the Airbnb listing that we are pulling in, just like that. Now, maybe I have listings here on James Island, right? So this area here, and I don't want to necessarily pull in data from the downtown Charleston or even the West Ashley listings, because I know that this island here is going to perform very differently than the ones around it. So I'm going to use this little lasso tool and just draw a little circle right around all the listings that I do want to include in my comp set. That would be, in my opinion, the first step. Next, it's going to filter all those other listings out. See, now they're kind of like grayed out around there. I'm going to come down here to the just below the map, and I'm going to be in this sort of listings and comp set area. I'm going to click create comp set, and this is going to allow me to really fine tune this report to my needs, right? So if I'm a manager, I might know, I might have already sort of split up my listings into groups. So maybe I want to make comp sets based on my groups. If I'm an investor, maybe I want to do a couple of different comp sets depending on the different options that I'm seeing in the market. So in this case, maybe let's take a look at 3 bedrooms. So I'm under the bedroom sort of column. I'm going to put 3 and click enter. You can use the more and less than symbols too. So maybe I want to, I know that I'm going to be a really good host and I'm never going to get anything below 4.5 stars. So I'm going to do greater than 4.5. I know that I am going to, again, be a professional manager. So I don't want anything with less than, maybe 9 reviews. So greater than 9 reviews. And then another thing that I typically will recommend people doing is taking a look at the estimated occupancy. And and sort of filtering based on that, as well as the active night. So I know that I'm going to be a professional manager. My home is going to be available 365 days a year. So I don't necessarily want to compare myself or take into account listings that are only renting for a couple days. So what I like to do is actually click select all, and then I will sort of sort by estimated occupancy. This one has 0, so that's not going to come into my comp set. Estimated nights, this actually looks good. 117, maybe we'll take away a couple of these. So you can really hand pick which ones you want. I can also go through, and if I really want to get detailed about it, I can go through each one of these links and see, okay, aesthetically, does this listing look like mine? Does it have good reviews? Does it have a good description? You know, all those things that, you know, people might be taking into account when they're actually viewing the listings. So you can hand pick all of the listings in your comp set. I will say you don't want to have a comp set of like 2 or 3, right? I would say at least 15. I would try to get more than 30 though. If you have a very small comp set, the rest of this data is going to be a little bit wonky looking. Just because, say, like 1 or 2 of those listings, you know, you have 10 listings and 2 of them go offline partway through the year, then you're down to 8, you know, and then it's like, I don't know, it'll just look really funny. So I would really try to make your comp sets a little bit larger. You can also use additional column filters too. So we have things like booking window, length of stay, base guests, bathrooms, listings types, pets allowed. So maybe I want to only look at pet friendly properties. I'm going to click pets allowed and it will load. And then this one's a little bit funny. You have to put in equals and then match the case. So yes has a capital Y, so YES with a capital. And then it's only going to show me 3-bedroom homes, 4.5 or more stars, more than 9 reviews that do allow pets. And those are the only ones that will be included in this comp set, right? So once I'm happy with this, I will name the comp set. I'll say 3-bedroom, you know, with good reviews. One thing that's a little bit funny is that you can't put any symbols in the name. So if you want to do like 223-bedroom, it's going to give you an error. So only numbers and letters and spaces. I'll then click generate comp set. Yep, confirm. And then we can go up into this comp set viewer and scroll all the way to the bottom, and we'll be able to see this 3-bedroom with good reviews comp, and then apply filter. Now, this entire report will now be generated based on the listings that I have handpicked. So really curating it to your specific needs. Any questions so far, Naya? I'm seeing a couple come in.
Yes, there are a couple of questions regarding pricing. So maybe we can explain pricing a little bit in detail.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so somebody asked, is this $9.99 per listing per month? Say we manage 10 units, would we charge $9.99 for each unit? So think of this separate from our dynamic pricing tool. So you don't have to have any listings to use this. You are going to be charged per report, right? So I have probably about 5,000 listings in this James Island Charleston report. I will only be charged the $19.99 as long as this little toggle is turned on. This toggle says let's refresh. So we're pulling in that Airbnb and Vrbo data every single day over, you know, your invoicing period. If you turn this off, we're not going to be updating the report anymore. Here we are updating it every single day. So it doesn't matter how many listings you have, it matters how many reports you have and whether it's the smaller report that has up to 1,000 listings or if it's the larger report that has up to 5,000. Most of you could probably get away with the up to 1,000 listing report. unless you're in like a very urban area or a very densely populated area and you want to really sort of see a lot more listings. Hopefully that makes sense.
There is another question from Melissa. If she wants to see how to apply filter again. I think she missed that.
How to, I'm sorry?
Apply filter.
Oh, apply the filters. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Okay, so let me, sorry. I don't know why, but my second screen isn't working today, so I'm only on my, my little laptop, which is making things a little harder. Cool. So to apply filters, so you're going to come down to this listings and compsets module. You'll have three options. You've got available listings. This just shows you all the listings in the report. Compsets, which you can then view and edit the listings in each comp set. Clicking this view button does not actually mean that the report is showing you that comp set. It just means that you're viewing which listings are in that comp set and you have the ability to edit. And then you can create new comp sets. Now to filter, you're going to use the row just below the headings, right? So listing ID, bedrooms, star rating, all of these things you can filter by. So say you're a professional manager in a market and you want to pay attention to all of Jessica and Garrett's listings. We can go to their Airbnb profile and then copy their list. That's not the listing. We'll add the host ID here. So where is that host ID? I can go ahead and put in there. And this is that one listing. Looks like they don't manage more than one. But so you can use that row just below, right? For things like star rating, reviews, you can use the greater than or less than symbols. So it's like these things to say, hey, I only want to look at people with reviews of more than 9 reviews. With things like pets allowed, dynamic pricing, you will need to use an equal sign and then match the case. So if I don't want to see any listings, or I only want to see listings with no dynamic pricing, I'll type in equals none and then click enter. Which is how I choose a lot of my Airbnbs when I'm traveling, actually, and just try to find something a little bit cheaper. But don't tell anybody that. Any questions besides that?
Yes, so there is this question. If our territory encompasses small villages in a 30-mile radius, would it make more sense to create a market for the entire territory and then create compset by village and say bedroom numbers using the lasso tool?
Yes, that is such a good question. That is such a good question. Yeah, so I would create a really large market dashboard, and then you can create the comp sets within. Because if you create multiple market dashboards, then you're gonna have to pay for like 2 or 3 dashboards, 2 or 3 reports. Whereas if you just create a large report, you could then create all the comp sets that you want within it.
Okay, so another question is that so a report could be location that covers one area.
Yes. Yep. So I've mentioned this before, but I'll show you exactly what it looks like. You can create a dashboard. We'll say 100 Main Street. Oops. 19. And then I'm going to choose a radius. So I'll say 20 kilometers. This is in USA. And then it's going to pull in this whole radius. So every single Airbnb in this area, we're going to, we can move the dot around, But just keep in mind, once you've actually generated the dashboard, you can edit the radius that you're pulling in, but you can't actually move the center of where that radius is. Once you're happy with the location of that circle, you'll see exactly the number of listings that are in that area. You can name your dashboard and then generate it. If there were more than 600, if there were like 5,000 listings in that area, it's pretty small. You would see the option to choose 1,000 or 5,000, and we would just pull in the 1,000 closest if you chose the smaller option.
Okay, so I think we'll take one more question. In the market that I'm looking at, I'm not finding too many properties that are self-managed. I use the filter to filter out properties that are professionally managed. So does that mean that the data I am seeing is skewed?
Is to what?
Is skewed.
Is what? I'm sorry.
The data that I
Oh,
am
it's
seeing
skewed.
is
Okay,
skewed.
it's skewed.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Haven't had my coffee today. So in the market that I'm seeing, I'm not seeing too many properties that are self-managed. I use the filter to filter out properties that are professionally managed. So what does that mean? It depends on really what you're looking for, why you're looking for self-managed properties. It could mean, so we do, I think you're looking at this filter where it's professionally managed. Okay, and you have a couple of options. We've got individual. That means that you're just looking at people who have one home. Small, I would also maybe consider small and individual, because you might be an owner that has like 2 or 3 properties and you're still self-managed, but you're not necessarily a large property manager. So maybe expand that. I would, it depends on the use case. I'd be interested as to why you're looking at just self-managed properties. The fact that you are using tools like PriceLabs to help inform sort of your strategies, I would maybe argue that you are a little bit more of a professional than you might think you are. But yeah, maybe make 2 different comp sets, take a look at the individual properties, and then sort of expand, maybe look at the individual and small, or then the individual, small, and medium, and kind of see how the trends change between the 3. But yeah, if you only have again, like less than 15 properties in a comp set, again, I would say try to get more than 30. Then yeah, things can look a little bit skewed. Okay. Cool. So hopefully this was helpful. Keep those questions coming. We will stop again in a minute to kind of figure out or to answer anything else that might have come up. So now that we have our comp set, we're going to go through the entire report, talk about each of the modules, and really dive deep into what the numbers mean, why you might use them, especially focusing on those 3 use cases that we talked about before. So first, we've got these basic KPIs at the top. You have the option to look at the last 365 days, the last 30 days, or the last 7 days. Now, this is going to help you just give a general sort of gauge on how the market is doing and just generally the performance of the listings in your comp set. If I'm looking at either the last 30 days or the last 7 days, you're going to see that there's a secondary number here. So in this case, we have estimated revenue over the past 30 days for these 3 bedrooms in James Island, 2.83K. Sorry, in my mind this morning. This is actually less than the 30 days prior, which is pretty common, I would say. Just knowing this market, January, February is really like the lowest of the low season we have here. So it's, even though these numbers are red, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. It just means that we're definitely coming into our really low season here. ADR is down, estimated occupancy is down, RevPAR is down, totally expected. But the number of bookings are starting to climb up. The booking window is actually starting to increase. So we might actually be starting to turn the corner. People might start booking for March, April, months in this market where things start to actually improve. And we'll go down here. We already saw these sections, so we'll skip over those. Next, we have market summary. So this, if you are an investor, this is kind of a very quick and easy way to sort of gauge market health, seasonality. You can even download this section if you click here. A lot of these you can actually download a CSV. So if you like using spreadsheets, you can use this information to your needs. We have average revenue, average RevPAR, average ADR, occupancy, median booking window, and median length of stay. Any questions about any of these KPIs? I believe Neha already sent an article about the methodology that actually defines each of these items. Happy to answer questions if needed. But just for time's sake, we're going to kind of move along. Just one that I will point out, seeing we're trying to figure out like how to use this information. I really like paying attention to booking window when you're thinking about your pricing strategies and your minimum stay strategies, especially as demand is waning in a lot of markets. Making sure that you're getting bookings sort of within that prime booking window or the booking window that you would normally expect gives you at least sort of like a goal, you know, so you're not just, 2 weeks out, oh no, my calendar is empty, what am I going to do? You should know, hey, this last October, the booking window was 41 days. So I should be getting a little bit nervous if it's 30 days out and my calendar isn't really as booked as I want it to be yet. So I would definitely, at a minimum, pay attention to this booking window, part of the chart here. Next, we have just a summary table. If you weren't looking at a comp set, this would give you sort of a breakdown of every bedroom category, the number of active listings, their median listed price, median booked price, all that good stuff. Supply and demand. I think this is very interesting, especially if you're an investor or if you're just trying to gauge the health of your market. In a lot of places, especially over the past 2 years, we've seen a huge increase in the number of active listings. Not necessarily a bad thing as long as the number of bookings per listing stays stable. Now we are seeing a slight decrease here, which I would say is kind of common in this area. We only go back 15 months, so we can't necessarily say if this September was comparable to last September, but it looks like November last year was a little bit higher. But yeah, of course, January is always our low season, so nothing really to worry about currently. You can see here that there has been an increase in listings, nothing too drastic, but if you notice that like all the number of listings have doubled in an area, I would maybe take a look, make sure that there's no upcoming short-term rental regulations that are on the docket, or maybe start getting a little bit more involved in your community so that things like that don't pass. Price and occupancy trends, just a couple of key dates for you to pay attention to, things that we are noticing in the market. We actually do send some of this information to you in a weekly email as well. And then next we have our future occupancy, bookings, and cancellations graph, as well as a future prices graph. Now, if you use our dynamic pricing tools, these graphs are probably going to look very similar to you. In neighborhood data, we do show you occupancy and price trends for listings nearby. Here we give you a little bit more data. You can use this little bar at the bottom to look historically at how occupancy has changed. You can also choose date ranges here. You're seeing a black line in addition to the gray occupancy. This is indicating pickup over the last 30 days, or you can change it to 14 or 7. Now, pickup is the amount of bookings that have been made over this time period. So if I'm looking at However, this weekend, as it looks like we've got a spike in occupancy. April 1st, I happen to know that's Bridge Run weekend here. It's a pretty big deal. We're already at about 37.7% occupancy, but within the past 30 days, 17% occupancy was booked. So this is definitely a weekend that is seeing a lot of increase in occupancy. Definitely something I'm going to want to pay attention to when I'm setting my prices and setting my minimum stay policies. Again, if you click this, you can download this data too if you want to play around with it. You can also add a cancellations chart. This one was pretty useful back in COVID when there was sort of like waving like spikes of the virus and cancellations. You could kind of gauge, am I just getting cancellations, or is the entire market getting cancellations for the state? Is it just me, or is it something systemic? Next, we have future prices. Again, very similar to what you would see in your neighborhood data chart. You've got three colors here, the 75th to 90th percentile, or really like the highest end of pricing that we're seeing is represented by a light pink. The dark pink is the 50th to 75th percentile, so like the middle to higher end of pricing. And then the 25th to 50th percentile is represented by a light gray. And that's the sort of lower end to middle of pricing. So the 50th percentile, or the middle of pricing or listed price, is shown right where the gray and the pink meet. Again, you can use this little bar, look historically at what pricing has done. You can also overlay median booked price. Now, I will warn you, if you are looking at the median booked price really far in advance, you're going to see some funny things. Either it's going to be non-existent, meaning that there are absolutely no bookings, nobody has booked, so there is no median booked price, or it's going to just look a little bit wonky. Typically, in my experience, it's either going to look really high or really low, meaning the really nice high-end, super expensive listings are getting booked for first, or the really low price listings are getting booked first. So this median booked price is actually, in my opinion, more useful if you're looking historically, because that's actually data that has already happened, right? Any questions on either of these graphs? I'm kind of running through quick. I know it's a lot of data. Nope. Okay. Okay. So Eric asks, are they based on your comp set or the whole market? That's a good question. Because I have this comp set selected and I've applied this filter, that means that this entire report is being generated off of those listings that I've handpicked. So those 60 or so listings in this comp set. If I wanted to look at the entire market, then I would choose this whole market, either Airbnb or Vrbo. And you can create comp sets for Vrbo listings or Airbnb listings. Okay. Hopefully that helps. We will go ahead and move on. Next, we're seeing day of week occupancy and day of week pricing factor. Again, if we click on this little pink square, it gives us more options. We can look at how things change over like yearly versus how things are going right now. Not a huge change in this market. A lot of the times I will see this in like very seasonal markets. So here in Charleston, like on the beaches, a lot of homes have a 7-night minimum. So the occupancy is very stable day by day. There isn't really a huge dip midweek. But once you get into the off season, there tends to be more of a dip weekday versus weekend. Price factor you can use somewhat to your advantage. If you notice that there's a huge dip in occupancy, but the rest of the market really isn't dropping their pricing, then maybe you can go in and, undercut your Tuesdays and Wednesdays, try to get some more midweek or longer rentals. Again, you can see how this changes 30 days to versus 360 days. This next module is a little bit complicated, but it's probably my favorite. I think this is like the richest information that we have, and can really, really help you fine tune your strategies. Now we actually, I would actually run through these dashboards and help people figure out their minimum stay strategies using the length of stay and booking window trends that we're picking up in the market. But we now have actually automated that for you. So if you're using our dynamic pricing tool, take a look at our new minimum stay recommendations, because it's actually powered by all of this data. So what you're looking at here on this length of stay, this first length of stay chart, you're seeing a couple of different colors here indicating the length of stay for each booking for on that day. So if we're looking at, say, March 18th, we have one day booking. We've got 2 2-night bookings, 3 3 and 4 night bookings, no 5 and 6 night, 3 7 to 14, 1 15 to 28, 5 29 plus. So can give you some information on, how long people are staying for bookings that have been currently made, as well as historically. So if I'm trying to figure out what I should maybe set my minimum stay for a specific date, maybe New Year's, for example, I can see that actually there were a decent number. There were 16 7 to 14 night stays over New Year. So maybe I should set my minimum stay for that date a little bit longer. I could probably get a 7-night stay if I'm setting it that long a year in advance, right? You can also see that this is a pretty heavy weekend market. I'll actually pull up a different one to show you. Let me see if I can find my Nashville, because I think this is one of my favorite reports to look at for the length of stay window. Because Nashville is thought of as a very heavy weekend market, and you might be in a market where you're thinking, I need to have a 2-night minimum because people only come for the weekends. Now, if you look at the occupancy here, yeah. So if you look at the occupancy, you see these really high spikes, right? Almost 80% occupancy on the weekends, maybe 30% if you're lucky on the weekdays. So in a lot of cases, people might think, hey, this is a really weekend heavy market. I need to have a 2-night minimum, maybe a 1-night minimum. But if you come down to this length of stay and booking window chart, when we look at the same thing, you can actually see what actually like compromises those bookings, or what those bookings comprise of. So here we've got this weekend, for example. Most of the bookings are actually 3 and 4 night stays. So if you are allowing 1-night stays, especially really far in advance, we're looking at May 7th, for example, there's already been 52 1-night bookings. People who are allowing those 1-night bookings probably could have gotten a 3 and 4 night. There's 186 3 and 4 night bookings that are 3 and 4 nights in length. So this is a really good chart to really deeply understand the booking patterns that are happening in your market. Go back to this one here. Any questions here? Something else that's interesting here in the Charleston market on James Island is the number of these long-term stays. So these 29 plus night stays, there's a really high amount of those in what I would consider our off season. I mean, look at last February, there were 10 30 plus night stays, and there were 0 1-night stays, 0 2-day, like very, very few people were coming. It's kind of cold here and not a lot of people want to stay, but if you're staying for a month, it makes more sense. So if you want to explore like a midterm mixed strategy, this can also help you kind of figure out when there's demand for those longer stays in your market. Okay, just making sure that there aren't any questions. Cool. This next chart also really great. there's a couple of different ways to look at this. So again, we've got this nice pink square, it gives us all sorts of options. What we're looking at is the number, in this case, the number of occupied nights, I believe it's actually the number of book nights, for each booking window. So booking window meaning how far in advance is somebody making a reservation. So a booking window of 30 days would mean, if today is January 4th, means that somebody is booking around February 4th, about a month in advance. So you can actually see the breakdown of how long in advance or how far in advance people are booking, and then how long people are actually staying for. If you use this neat little drop down here, you've got a whole bunch of different options. I really like looking at the number of bookings by length of stay and booking window. It's a really colorful chart. It's a little overwhelming, but I'll break it down for you. Just below, you've got the key here. So under your booking window chart, it's basically the same chart we were looking at before. You've got the number of bookings for different booking windows. So again, how far in advance people are staying, but each of these columns are now color coded for the types or the lengths of bookings that are being made. So I can see clearly that 2 to 4 months in advance, so people booking 60 to 120 days from now, most of them are booking stays of 3 and 4 nights. There's a couple of 7 and 14 nights slipping in there, a couple of longer stays. But if I am allowing, 2 and 1 night stays in that sort of longer term window, I'm potentially missing out on revenue. Coming over here, same view, basically just swapped. So again, we've got number of bookings, but we're breaking it up by the length of stay, and then showing you the booking window via the colors. So clearly, the most bookings that are being made in this market are 3 and 4 night stays. There's a ton more than, the 1, the 2, even 5, 6 night stays. When are most of those bookings being made? Again, we're looking at that sort of dark or medium gray color and saying 2 to 4 months in advance. But really, the sort of 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, and 6 plus, that sort of longer term window is really where the sort of bulk of those bookings are being made. So you can definitely, if you're not using PriceLabs dynamic pricing tool, you can at least use this to inform your minimum stay strategy for, going forward. Now, this is looking at bookings made in the past 30 days, so this will change if you're in a seasonal market. Keep that in mind. Questions here? Ooh, somebody asked, can you generate a list of properties with 29 plus day stays so we can compare to our own? Yeah. If you're using like a midterm strategy, you can definitely do that. So I'm going to sort of put a pin in where we were down here. We're going to go all the way back up to generating our comp set. And we've got this minimum stay column. So typically what I'll do is greater than 27, because some people or some areas have like a minimum stay of like 28 is what they consider like a monthly rental. And then all of these listings that you've, if you are considering doing like a midterm strategy, you can definitely use this to inform that. Okay, trying to think. Awesome, cool. We're running up on time, so I'm going to cruise through these next few sections. We've got amenities here, and I will say the amenities that we offer, we're able to pick more up on Airbnb. So these next couple of sections, I think, are a little bit more rich on our Airbnb side than the Vrbo side. It's just a little bit different. If I have time, I can show you. But what you're seeing here is common amenities. So things that are commonly listed in the listings that we've picked up in this comp set. So I will say, especially if you have a lot of professional managers that know that you really need to check all the boxes in order to show up in search results. Some of the things that you'll see are a little bit like I don't know that people are necessarily booking homes specifically because they have smoke alarms. Maybe they are. Hangers, I think, is a funnier example. It says that 98% of listings have hangers, 97% of bookings are being made at those listings. So it's more likely, at least in my opinion, that these are professionally managed properties and that they are managed maybe at like a higher quality. And that's why they're getting so many bookings, not because they specifically are, featuring the fact that they include hangers in the closets. What this section is cool for, in my opinion, is if you're thinking about, if you're an investor or if you are working with an owner who's thinking about improving their property, you can actually kind of take a look. And maybe I'm going to see my hot tubs here. Is a hot tub maybe a good investment? How many listings in the area actually have hot tubs? How many bookings are being made for those listings? Now, again, I believe this is looking at bookings in the past 30 days. So something like a hot tub in the middle of the summer might not look that appealing. But here in January, it looks like only 6.5% of bookings being made are for those with hot tubs, and only 5% of listings actually have that. So there is a little bit more weight on the listings that have hot tubs. So hopefully that makes sense. You can also use this to see, things like free parking. Is there anything that I should really be using to highlight in like my Airbnb title? Free parking might be a really big thing in your area. You might not even notice, people are coming to town. They might not know that parking is always free. So, you can use this for marketing, strategies as well. Desired amenities is a very similar graph. It's basically showing you the difference between the percentage of occurrence in bookings versus the occurrence in listings. So, if only 2% of listings have conditioner, but 90% of the bookings that are being made are for listings with conditioner, then that might be something that you want to at least think about adding as an amenity in your home. Again, I don't know that conditioner and body soap are things that are really driving bookings. Again, this is sort of like you want to think about causation versus correlation. So what other things might homes with conditioner and body soap have? They might just have more amenities in general, right? Single level home, that's interesting. Cool. Next, we have policies and fees. Now, this, when you're setting up your listing on Airbnb, on Vrbo, on the OTAs, I think this is a really nice section to at least pay attention to, especially now that cleaning fees are included in sort of that estimate that they give. We've got weekly discounts, monthly discounts, and again, we're comparing sort of the occurrence in the listings versus the occurrence in the bookings. So in this market, a lot of listings don't actually offer a weekly discount currently. It looks like about almost 40% of listings do not have a weekly discount. But you start to sort of see a shift. Listings that offer an 11 to 15%, 18 to 20%, and 21 to 25% are actually getting more bookings in the market than the ones that have less than a 10% weekly discount. You can see the same sort of trend here. There are a lot of listings relatively that have a 16 to 20% discount for monthly bookings. A lot of listings that have a 0% discount for monthly bookings, but the ones that have higher discounts, you can actually see are getting more percentage of bookings than sort of their market share, if that makes sense. Cleaning fees, also very interesting to look at. I will say sometimes you'll notice that the higher cleaning fees, it's not in this case, but sometimes I will see that like the really high cleaning fees actually get a higher percentage of bookings. Again, I think that has to do with probably listing quality. Maybe it's a really high-end luxury listing that can, that gets more bookings in general, but also can charge a higher cleaning fee. I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, the listings with the really high cleaning fees get the bookings just because they're listed, really high fees. In this case, it looks like the most common fee is between $141 and $168. But the number of bookings that are being made for just slightly less cleaning fees is a little bit proportionate. Cancellation policies, again, pretty self-explanatory, same sort of concept here. Looks like strict is the most popular in this market, but flexible is maybe getting a little bit more bookings relative to the number that offer that policy. Base number of guests and extra person fee. So if you're thinking about maybe playing with an extra person fee, this is a good place to come and look. I can go into that a little bit more if you like, but we are coming up on time. I can stay a little bit longer if y'all have questions. Last thing I want to show you is that you can export this as a PDF. You could just click generate and then it will allow you to download. And then if we have time, if y'all are interested, I can show you where to actually view these comp sets in your portfolio analytics and the dynamic pricing tools as well. But I think that's about all I have today. Let's maybe open it up for more questions until I have to go. Yeah, thank you everybody that that joined today. You will, I'm not sure if we'll be sending a copy to everybody, but this will be posted on our YouTube channel. So hopefully this was useful.
Yeah, we will be sharing an email with all the useful resources related to Market Dashboard and the recording as well. There's one question. Where are the compsets we create get saved?
Yeah, so they will be, you can always access the comp sets, actually a couple places, and I was just saying this, I can show you. So the comp sets are saved here. So if you actually want to view the comp set in the report, you'll want to find this little view comp set area in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. You can choose any of them here. If you just want to view the comp set, like the actual listings in it and edit it, you can do it under this listing and comp set section. You can click comp set. Again, view is just going to show you the list. It's not actually changing the comp set that we're viewing in the report. It's just going to show you the list here, and then you can edit it if you need to. If you want to see the comp sets in the other parts of PriceLabs, you can do that here. So say I'm going to look at Rio's Retreat. We're going to go to my neighborhood data. And this will take a second to load. I keep getting notifications saying that my internet is unstable. Hopefully I haven't been just like breaking up this entire time. Cool. So here we've got the option to do nearby listings, and that's what's by default. We're looking at the 300 or so closest listings to you. I can also switch to Market Dashboard, choose my James Island dashboard, and then we'll say, let's take a look at those 3-bedroom good reviews, and then apply. And then see how the sort of pricing information changed here. All of the data that you're seeing here is now going to be based on those listings that I've handpicked. Now, the data that's running our algorithm is still going to sort of be that default nearby, but this is really useful if you want to compare yourself to specific listings and then customize your strategies based on that. The second area you can view your comp set is under portfolio analytics. So I'm just going to click see analytics. What I would maybe recommend is like choosing groups or setting up tags that correspond with different comp sets. And then when this loads, we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and we just came out with this new section. It's actually really cool. It's called pacing, and it will load eventually, but you see it here. Now, initially, what you're going to see is your own data. So that's what all of portfolio analytics is. And we are actually running a webinar either tomorrow or Friday. I'm not sure, Neha, you can chime in there about when it's supposed to be. But we are going to go all through this portfolio analytics section in detail if you want to sign up for that webinar too. I think we may have needed to move it for like a scheduling conflict, but it will be happening this week at some point. But under this pacing section, you can choose, say, your market dashboard, and then any of those specific comp sets that you've created. And then you can not only see how your listings are doing this year compared to last year, same time, but you can also see how the market is doing. So really gives you some neat views here. And again, join us later this week for that webinar. Hopefully that answered your question. Okay, demand factor. So again, this is a little bit off topic. But demand factor more has to do with our dynamic pricing tool. So we'll go back to that. Now, demand factor, let's see, when I set it too conservative in the winter, it really lowers my summer prices. Okay, so you shouldn't necessarily, I mean, I can see why you'd want to set that seasonally. I'll bring that up to the team. But basically our demand factor, and I actually run our 201 webinars on Thursdays. Currently they're at 12 p.m. Eastern. That might change in the future. But if you do have questions about any specific settings actually within the dynamic pricing tool, so hour long, maybe 45 minutes long webinar that really goes deep into every single one of the settings in our dynamic pricing tool, when to use it, when not to use it, answering any questions live that you might have. But the demand factor is basically on this calendar, you can kind of see there's high demand dates on the weekends. It's looking at a couple different things, your neighborhood data, sort of like historic occupancy, future looking occupancy, a whole bunch of different things. And then changing it to conservative is going to dampen it, right? So we're raising prices in this case by 14% for this weekend. But if I were to change it to conservative, it would just sort of dampen that factor. It'd probably bring it down to like 8% or something. If I were to set it to conservative or aggressive, it's going to do the opposite. It's going to really bolster that demand factor and sort of shoot for the moon. So it would raise, you know, we're still taking into account, hey, this is a higher demand weekend, but you know, conservative, just a little bit more dampened version of the setting. Hopefully that makes sense. If you still have questions, feel free to shoot us an email, or you can always chat us here. Our team is more than happy to help and answer any of your questions. Okay, if we want to add multiple responses to a criteria in the filter label, is that possible? Yeah, you can add as many as you want. I would just say, so like here, if I'm doing my comp sets again, create one. Like I was saying, I'm doing 3 bedrooms, more than 4.5 stars, more than 9 reviews, more than 27 nights. All of these are being taken into account, and then I can just select all, and it's just selecting the listings that are fitting that criteria. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Under one column. Oh, I see. Okay. No, so if you want to, and we are hopefully working on sort of making this filtering section better, or not necessarily better, but a little bit more user friendly. Say I wanted to look at 3 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms with the same sort of criteria. Once I change this, these listings are still going to be selected. So say I want 3 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms, I'm then going to click select all. And then if I delete this, only the 3 and 4 bedrooms are the ones that are selected still. Hopefully that helps. Cool.
There are no more questions.
No more questions. Awesome. Well, this is lovely. Y'all had really, really great questions. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend your Wednesday afternoon with me. or early afternoon. If you have any questions that come to you after this, feel free to reach out to us at support@pricelabs.co. We are more than happy to help, and I hope to see you all in upcoming webinars. Thanks so much. Bye.